Hi, Dyslexic Genius here, Brad Hurt. I'm going to talk about an Edison Fireside and like a tune-up or what you have to do on a restoration on one. And Firesides are very unique. Really what they are is an upgraded Edison standard with 2 4-minute. A wonderful machine. What's interesting is we have the mandrel, and the mandrel shaft bolts in right there, and then it has a nut, and you've heard me talk about that side goes out and this side is a connecting side, which means you have a top and a bottom, and then this screws in here and that tightens the mandrel shaft. But what's wonderful about this is I talk about polishing shafts out all the time on videos. You literally can chuck this in your home drill at home, and you can just take 600 sandpaper and you can polish all the little wear marks and get any little burrs that were caused over time. And then I flex tone this end bearing and then this end bearing. So when you put it all together, you stick it in there without oil. You put a little oil on this thing, and it's going to run forever. You want to make sure that you get all the stuff out of your gears. You clean everything up. This is a good time to polish your mandrel out. The next thing is we have the back rod that holds the carriage like this. So what I've done is I took my diamond files. I've talked about that. I polished this out, and then I polished the wear here out. Just take the little burrs off, flex tone the inside here, flex tone here, polished out the carriage rod. These also come with the 2 little lines for timing for 2 minute. So when you put this together, whoopsie, Brett. When you put this together, it should slide smoothly like that, very easily. This is what really helps the phonograph play. And then when you oil, the carriage will just float down. The other thing is we have the lead screw, and I flex toned I cleaned the bearings and I flex toned the shaft that those go into, the hole in the casting, so that you can adjust easily this way, because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take the secondary gear here, and you want to make sure that this spins freely. And there were some burrs on this, and I chucked this into my lathe, but you can do that at home in your drill. And I polished all this out and this out, because once you stick this in, there's some spacers that go behind the gear right here that pull the gear out a little. So when you put everything together, the lead screw gear absolutely lines up dead on with a secondary gear. And that's why on the bearings, I made the bearings easier to adjust. After you lock in the secondary gear, then you can take these and move them back and forth to a line and then set a little bit of play. On the 2 4-minute changer, you have this gear, and then you have this shaft that this gear goes to. This is the pull knob. And this goes in here, and it slides in like this, and it moves back and forth. And you do not want to oil in here either, because in this shaft, we have a slot that's been machined. And in that slot, use my hand, I don't want to lose this, is this little spring. And this little spring fits in there, which gives you tension when you shift from 2 to 4 minute. So when you lay that little spring in here, you kind of look at it and go, well, it's laying flat. So you just want to give it a little bend so you have cushion. Then you want to polish this end piece here that the gear rides on like that. Well, this never gets oiled. So I would pre-oil all this before assembly, and then this will fit on here and run smoothly. And you can tell if there's burrs in here if you're holding it like I am and you spin it. You literally can feel the burrs in your finger here. You'll say, and it won't spin up freely. To assemble this, this has a little washer and a little screw. And I use these blade screwdrivers, so when you push it forward, it gets tight. So you take the screw and you insert the blade in there, and you push down. Now that just stays put. You literally can put it in. So you do that. You add the washer, you pre-oil, and that just goes in here like that. It's much easier to use than a flat tip screwdriver. You pull back the black piece and bingo, there you go. It's all done. Now you assemble. Everything has to be cleaned. Cleanliness to godliness. You also want to make sure you use a magnetic tray like this that I get these at Harbor Freight. It holds everything in place. It won't go away. You won't spill it. I've cleaned the half nut, and on Firesides it has an adjustment. This piece bolts on, and this little screw goes in and out, which gives you the tension on your half nut when you're setting your half nut, so you can get it dead on as the two gears hit, or the two threads hit. Yeah, the only little drawback about Firesides is this pulley. This pulley is a little baby thing, but it's a solid one. It's not open like an Edison home or other Edisons you see. And it's small and it's solid, and it's designed to pull torque on the motor, so like a flywheel on a car, you know, if you have a 4-speed or a 5-speed or whatever, and that helps. The only problem is it has a really small shaft in it, and sometimes they wobble a little. So if you look at it at the top, you go, oh, that doesn't look good. But now if we look from the side, this looks a lot better when it's running. I've bent it back into place. Also, we have this little screw here. On that shaft is a machined flat area, like on this shaft, but it's much smaller, and that screw goes on to there. To get the motors to run quietly, you'll hear this is running nicely and quietly. I put STP on all the gears in here. And the reason I do that is, my angel can focus in there. When you turn it on, you see that black line on the bottom gear? That is holding the STP onto the gear train, and the oil's not flying off your gear train, and the gears are running without oil. That's what happens. So you have to use a thicker oil. I use STP like this, and while it's running, I just take my illustrious Starbucks stopper, and I just kind of coat everything with a little drop like that, and it's very, very quiet. If you have an Edison home and want to try this at home, or an Edison machine, lift the motor board up, start the phonograph, and put 1 drop of STP on the governor gear at the end of the governor, and you'll see an instant difference on how much quieter they run. Also, we have the belt tensioner, and you want to make sure your belt tensioner is clean and you get all the goop out of the inside. The easiest way is I have this dirty jar. Don't tell my sweet angel I took this out of the kitchen somewhere. And I soak it in lacquer thinner. So I'll soak it in lacquer thinner, agitate it like this. Then I'll blow it out and then I'll agitate it to get the crud out of the inside so this will run smoothly. And this is very critical on all Edison machines, that the belt tensioner pulley system runs smoothly. This is a lot of fun. I love showing you things about phonographs, and that's my tip for the day.